Hi, I'm Paul Herrera. I'm the Government Affairs Director with the Inland Gateway Association of Realtors. I can't be here this week, and I'm really sorry that I can't join you guys in person. I'm actually on a business trip meeting with my colleagues from around the country in Portland this week, but I really wish I could be there to welcome this new group of TIGAR members. It's always one of my great pleasures to be part of this meeting itself. I'm, in essence, your lobbyist. I work for this association at the direction of the board of directors to work on issues at the local, state, and federal level, whether it's things you deal with in City Hall, at the state level, or in Washington, D.C. All those areas have so much impact on the work you do as a business and the work you do with your clients and how people experience homeownership every single day. You may not be aware of it, but the Realtor Party, which is what we are, we consider ourselves a Realtor Party. We're not Republicans, not Democrats. We are part of the lobby for homeownership, the Realtor Party. There is no other lobby for homeownership. This is one of the key things to really pull away. There's no National Association of the American Dream or National Association of Homeownership that's walking the halls of Congress or walking Sacramento or visiting City Hall and pushing for property rights and homeownership issues. It really comes down to us, to you guys, and that's really a credit to the realtor organizations that have formed over the years to take interest in their clients, not just at the transaction, but way beyond that to make homeownership a valuable thing. So what do we work on? It really depends on what level of government you're looking at. Let's start at the local level. The local level, we're really working on things that might impact a city getting involved and negatively affecting homeowners or transactions. So for instance, we have successfully repelled a number of attempts for cities to get involved in a transaction, say point of sale inspections. There's often proposals for a city to send code enforcement inspectors during a transaction in order to ensure whatever the heck it is they want to ensure. And we argue time and time again that this is not an appropriate way to enforce anything. And frankly, we also argue that there's some search components, illegal search components to such a proposal. Many times cities look at pool inspections or you name the priority, and they want to enforce it when people buy and sell houses. And we argue that if these safety issues or these environmental issues, whatever it is that they're prioritizing, are so important, they matter for everybody. And the transaction itself is something that shouldn't be impacted in such a way. And it's something that we have to constantly work at, because when we let down our guard, that's when these things take place. In the Inland Empire, in our region, Riverside County, we have virtually none of these in existence. Other parts of the state, Los Angeles, coastal San Diego, coastal Orange County, the Bay Area, you see these much more often. So that's part of the reason we have to remain so vigilant at the local level. At the state level, we're working on a lot of issues that impact taxation. There are so many proposals, usually hundreds in each 2-year cycle of legislation, that would impact the pocketbook and focus on homeowners. Why homeowners? Homeowners, property owners are where the money is. That's who has the dinero, and the state's looking for more of it. So we're constantly working and showing that you can't just price and tax people out of homeownership, that there's real damage to be done when that happens. In California, we are a very expensive state for housing. We are as expensive as it gets for housing. And it's very unfortunate, because what we have created here in the state is a situation where the middle class worker wage cannot afford what people would consider the middle class lifestyle. They can't afford to buy a house in California. The median home price is $550,000, has crossed that this year in the state of California. The median home price has crossed that. Rents have become more unaffordable. So we can't layer additional costs, taxes, and other issues on top of what already exists and make the state even more difficult for working class families to be able to afford something. How many of you right now are trying to find or have been trying to find a home either for yourselves, for family members, for clients, and having such a tough time? If we had a real supply of $300,000 houses out there, not even to say $200,000 houses, but $300,000 houses that were available to buy, that would get scooped up very quickly. And yet it's impossible essentially to build $300,000 houses in California. Where can you build it? In virtually every other state in the nation. So one of the things that has been at the top of our priority list has been to make California a place that builds more housing. We don't have enough of it. If we don't build more of it, then the supply crunch continues and the prices keep going up and working class families keep getting pushed out of there. Now, maybe that's a benefit to the people who own homes. I benefit from myself. But it hurts those people who are trying to find a way to afford this state. Home ownership isn't a luxury. It's something that is an essential part of being a middle class, reasonably comfortable family in any place. And in California, we've made that really inaccessible. Cities, states, they've all contributed to the problem of making home ownership just more inaccessible and making homes much more scarce. We need many, many more homes to be built in the state in order to accommodate just our growing population. And it has nothing to do with migration or immigration. Most of it is just kids are growing up. And the state needs more people, and our economy is actually doing pretty well. So that's the focus of our work at the state level. It's trying to keep taxes reasonable. Prop 13 has been a big help in that, and then trying to build more housing. At the federal level, it's a very different set of priorities. At the federal level, that's where our housing finance comes from, and there's also some tax issues there as well. But that's really where our housing finance system is created. Whether it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or FHA, or veterans loans, all of that is set by policy at the federal level. And then all the rules that have to deal with underwriting, how banks operate, how we interface with the public, who has access to credit, all of that is really set at the federal level. That becomes an ongoing fight. What role, for instance, should the federal government have in the mortgage system? The reality is, following the financial crisis and right up until this moment, virtually every mortgage is in some way connected to the federal government. It's starting to release a little bit, but very, very slowly. So conventional loans in this area, FHA loans certainly, VA loans, all of that is underwritten by taxpayers on some level through one of these agencies, whether it's insured by FHA or whether right now the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on conventional loans, it's essentially owned by the taxpayer. So we try to work very hard to make sure that ownership, that those mortgages remain affordable. There have been a number of proposals to tack on additional fees, additional costs, additional layers of regulation on top of what already exists, which is pretty extensive. And we have beaten back just about every one of those attempts while making sure that there is a legitimate safeguard. We experienced 2006, 2007, and the crash of 2008. We know that there is a price to be paid for not doing enough to protect consumers. But sometimes the pendulum swings too far. And we saw over the last couple of years where really worthy families with solid incomes and the ability to repay were having trouble getting to homes that they could otherwise afford if the financing was made available to them. So we've worked on those issues. What else at the federal level? Well, we actually had a very significant fight that we partially lost and partially won when it came to the question of how federal taxes should treat home ownership. We've benefited for generations from the mortgage interest deduction, as well as the ability for homeowners to deduct the property taxes they pay to the state of California or the local taxes they may pay on property taxes. There was a significant reform effort, many of you are probably aware of it. It was a national debate at the end of last year. What's important to point out is what was in the first proposal, the one that was passed by Congress, which didn't end up in the final legislation. And this goes to the strength of what our realtor members do when they get involved and really engage with their leaders about why these things are an issue and why they should be considered in a different way. The first proposal included complete elimination of the deductibility of local and state taxes. So the property taxes, any taxes you paid in income taxes, all of that would no longer be deductible to any taxpayer. In the end, it was reduced to $10,000, so that you can deduct up to $10,000 in those taxes, the majority of which are either income taxes or property taxes in California and many other places. So what's that mean? That means $10,000 is now part of the incentive of home ownership. And it means that at least, even though in higher cost areas where people pay much more taxes, at least they get that $10,000 limit. And that's going to reduce some of their tax burden by $2,000 or $3,000 on average. The original proposal that was passed would have dropped the mortgage interest deduction, which was $1 million, to $500,000. The final version was $750,000. And $500,000, that means that a mortgage of more than $500,000, anything above $500,000 would that interest would no longer be deductible. That would also hurt in California, where again the median home price is $550,000, and in many high-cost areas, Corona is above that figure right now certainly for new housing, and any new house in California is going to be above that figure. That's going to have a significant impact. We were able to raise it $750,000, reducing the impact, the negative impact of that deduction. Unfortunately, it's not $1 million, and that matters to some folks out there. There was another significant item in the tax bill which we were able to eliminate at the end. It would have created a set of rules in which somebody who sells their home within 5 years would be paying capital gains taxes on the increase of their home. We looked at the impact of that. It would have cost the average home seller today who bought their home 5 years ago about $15,000, just a $15,000 tax bill that would be presented as part of their closing, presumably, or at least they would have to set it aside and pay that on their tax bill at the end of the year. $15,000 as a disincentive to sell a house as compared to what should be zero. We pointed out to members of Congress that when people so-called make money on their property by property appreciation, they're not really making any money because they're probably selling that home and buying another home, and the home that they're buying also went up in cost. So that's not income, that's not money free and clear. Whatever so-called income exists is really them getting back to principal of what they've already paid in. And they don't get back the interest that they paid on that property. So those are a few issues that we worked on. And then we see things coming up along the way that we have to be engaged in. You guys may be aware of the PACE issue. That stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. You know it better by brand names such as Hero or Y-Green. These are programs that allow homeowners to make improvements to their property for energy efficiency or water efficiency and pay that off with a lien that is structured as a tax bill. So it becomes part of their property tax bill on a yearly basis and then paid off over a term of 10, 15, or 20 years, depending on their financing structure and what they're working on. When these programs started, they created huge problems starting right here in Riverside County. People were encumbered in a way they didn't know. They didn't understand the structure of the lien, the rules that apply to lending, to mortgage lending of every other type, disclosure, proper information, documentation, the information that's given verbally and in writing, the rules of underwriting. None of that applied to PACE financing. There was no check as to whether they could afford this loan. There was no real ability to, in the initial paperwork, unless you hunted around the document to understand what it is you were fully agreeing to. And even beyond that, people who accepted these loans didn't know that they were accepting a debt which would not allow them to sell the property and have the buyer use federally backed loans. No conventional loans, no FHA financing, no VA loans. And by the way, that last piece of it still exists. We pushed hard to make sure that that disclosure exists, and it does now exist in law. Now people don't walk into those debts expecting that they're going to be able to borrow $50,000 and pass the debt along to the next owner. They know that they're responsible for it before they sell the property. And we're still working on additional reforms of these programs. We've added underwriting in the past year. We've added a number of additional disclosures that we feel put the consumer, the homeowner, on some kind of even footing with the people attempting to sell this financing to them. And that's been very, very important to us, and TIGAR has been at the center of working this issue and trying to make sure that consumers are protected. And finally, through 4 bills and some more coming up this year, we really do think we're going to be there. This is all really the effort of the Realtor Party. The Realtor Party is, I'm your lobbyist. I'm the person who is hired to do this work, and I love the work I do. But I'm only effective if you guys get involved. It's the only thing that really gives us a leg up on other organizations. It's one thing for me to walk in and sit down with a lawmaker and say, we think you should do this, or that. It's much, much, much more effective when the membership is engaged, when you guys are letting us know what's going on, getting involved yourself, being part of our breakfast meetings, being part of our association, joining our committees, writing letters, responding to calls for action, and showing that it is not just a few people who are noticing, but it's something that matters to you guys as community members, as professionals, and to your clients as homeowners and constituents in all these communities across our area. When we do that, we can have tremendous impact on everything we do, and you can have an impact way beyond transaction in supporting your clients over the years. So, last item. Here's the pitch. There's a fund called the Realtor Action Fund. Everything that we do, everything that we work on, everything we've successfully lobbied on, every win we've had, and some of the hard-fought losses that we've suffered, everything is supported by the volunteer efforts of our membership. That starts first and foremost, and this is the most important thing to me, for members to be engaged, to read the emails, to keep track of what's going on. When they see things in their experience, when they experience things with their clients that we might need to know about, that they pick up the phone and call me. My cell phone is easily available, 951-500-1222. I want to hear about those issues, because that's how we find out that a one-off situation is actually a systemic problem, and we go in and we start to fix it so that you don't deal with it for 20 years. So first and foremost, stay engaged, read, know what's going on, understand the changes in law. Let us know how things are going to impact you. Let us know how things are impacting you. And that makes a world of difference. When we have a call for action and say, hey, we need to reach out to the assigned member or the senator and let them know that this bill, they should vote no on this bill or yes on this bill, and here are the reasons why. If you respond to that, that makes all the difference in the world. But then the very, very last item, and everything that we work on is funded by volunteer contributions from our membership. That's to the Realtor Action Fund. Your $20 a year, $49 a year, some of our members will give what's called the true cost of doing business, $148 per year. We have some very generous members who are part of our Silver Bear Club at $449. I'm a member myself of that. This is how we fund these efforts. This is how we research, how we're able to have an impact, how we are able to support candidates who support the issues that we care about, how we do all of the work that really benefits the American dream and home ownership in our communities. So when dues bill time comes around at the end of the year, if you can think of us with that checkbox and add that $20 or $49, and today, if you have some deposit money that's part of this program, if you would take a moment, and if you don't need that today, and if you can give us that fund as a voluntary contribution, it helps show that we have members who are engaged, and it helps fund all the work that we're doing. And then the last item beyond that, please be involved in our association. Please be part of our volunteer efforts. We'll have lawmakers here. Please come out, show that you care by listening to what they have to say and then asking questions. Please be part of our Legislative Affairs Committee, Legislative Government Relations Committee that meets at TIGAR on the third Thursday of each month. Reach out to me. There are so many ways to be involved. Be part of Legislative Day. Come Sacramento with us next May, the first Wednesday of the month. Be part of our programs, and all in all, if you guys really take the time to be involved in our government relations program and to make your voices known to your council members, to your mayors, to your senators, to your members of Congress, to your state assembly members, we're going to be able to have the impact that really matters and really do things for your clients. And if we don't do that, then we're going to lose more often. And that's something that's going to trickle down over the years to everybody involved. But fortunately, I've been so proud of the work that I see the realtors do on a day-to-day basis, and the willingness to get involved and the way they care for the members. And I know that with every group that comes in, we see the enthusiasm, and you guys are willing to come out and be part of our programs. So in closing, I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I really enjoy talking to you guys, taking your questions. But at any point, please feel free to give me a call. My cell phone again is 951-500-1222. My email address is paul@tigar.org. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.